Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Mandi, author of 10 young adult novels so far. I have been in the habit for the last, I want to say 4 years? 3 years? An amount of time. I've been in the habit of reading a book on writing craft or professional development or some form of non-fiction every single month. I missed a few months in 2022. We don't have to talk about it, but it is January 10th, and I already feel myself slipping behind on the, writing craft, professional development, book of the month situation. So, choosing a book today, we're getting into it for January. We're gonna hit all 12 this year. I'm going to be reading this, which is a book I just recently bought, because after using the Enneagram for characters, which completely blew my mind, I've become slightly obsessed with this topic. So the opening chapters of the Sacred Enneagram have been fascinating. I've underlined a couple of things, and I figured I'd just walk through them, I guess. He's basically discussing, why the Enneagram. What are the things I underlined? Oh, I just like this quote. "Every unrealistic expectation is a resentment waiting to happen." Really like that quote. Nothing to do with the Enneagram, really, but I liked it. So when discussing the symbols of the Enneagram, like the circle and then the, the weird pointy thing and the triangle, it got really fascinating. Sorry for yawning. Another thing that I, marked, just as like a quote that stood out to me was, the English word for personality is derived from the Latin word for mask. Simply put, our personality is the mask we wear. Taking off that mask, trying to get behind the mask, is the work of the spiritual journey. He's talking about, in this section, how the Enneagram is not just another personality test. It is, in fact, much deeper than that and helps you go beyond that if you use it properly. The Enneagram is not a tool for self-absorption, but rather a map for self-liberation. I underlined a lot on this page. I don't know why. It's a compassionate sketch of possibilities and opportunities, pointing us back to our true self and to the anchoring God whose name is love. I don't know that I have anything to say about the things that I was underlining, but I was underlining them. Let's see. Oh, this is the symbol stuff. The circle denoting eternity, unity, wholeness, da-da-da-da-da. The law of 1, the triangle being the law of 3, yada yada. Oh, the crisscross 6-pointed hexagram thingamajiggy, that was the one that freaked me out a little bit. Third, the irregular crisscross 6-pointed hexagram, within the Enneagram circle is what is used to teach the law of 7. The law of 7 is thought to explain the spectrums of things like light, refracted through 7 colors of a rainbow, sound, what's up, Bubby? The 7 fundamental tones of an octave, sequence, the 7 days of a week, forming the basic interval to measure time. I can't read. And energy, the 7 chakras of the body's energy centers that yoga students learn. In Judaism and later Christianity, the origins of the entire cosmos are told through a creation narrative lasting 6 days with the 7th day punctuating its completion. And throughout Christian scripture, the number 7 is used to symbolize perfection. All of this is a lot, right? It's a lot, but it gets better. This little symbol thing is what we're talking about. And these are the numbers that they correspond with, right? This is where I lost it. The curious relationship these 6 points have with 7 is hidden in the numbers in perpetuity behind the decimal point of the quotient in any whole number divided by 7, other than 7 itself. And then there's math. And I literally lost it. Wait, there it is. It's the same sequence of numbers over and over and over and over and over again. Someone very intelligent put this together. That's what I got from that. I texted my sister and I was like, Jesus is very intelligent. She was like, yes? I was like, listen, math just blew my mind. It did. It just blew my mind. That's about as far as I've gotten reading-wise, actually. That was it. The math that blew my mind. So I didn't really have anything else, but so far I've been very fascinated by everything I've been reading. I will say it feels very Catholic, some of the things that he's saying, which is not inherently a bad thing, but I'm not Catholic, so sometimes I'm just like, interesting. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, nothing's been terrible or anything. It's just been really interesting. And I don't know, making me think, I guess. We haven't actually gotten to, like, the Enneagram stuff that I was expecting to get to, like, within the types spiritual journey situation. He's just been setting up, like, this is why I think this tool is worth it. And he's convinced me, so. Although, to be fair, I was kind of already convinced because I've been using the Enneagram both in my own life and for my characters for a while now, so it's not like he had a lot of persuading to do. Hi, hello. It's been a while since I did an update on reading for this vlog, but it's fine. I have been reading a bit, not done with the book yet, which is a problem because it's January 31st. Don't question it. It'll be fine. Anyway, I'm going to go through different things that I have, like, underlined and been thinking about, since the last time I did this. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I talked about the math, right? Was that the last update? It might have been. Okay, so this was just a paragraph that basically described my childhood, so I had to include it because it cracked me up. I was like, yep, that's it. That's what it is to have grown up the way that I did. I was raised to be suspicious of anything that could possibly misalign with Christianity. I grew up in a youth group that tried to convince me secular music was evil. The Christian university I attended didn't allow students to dance or drink alcohol. In fact, we also couldn't have tattoos or piercings or wear shorts on campus after 5 p.m., which is very specific. During my childhood, my parents wouldn't even let my siblings and me watch the Smurfs, Scooby-Doo, Gremlins, or Ghostbusters. Me neither. But this is the part that actually made me laugh. Though the Narnia stories, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Star Wars movies were somehow street legal. Oh yeah, and Halloween was for sure off limits. That was my childhood for sure. Yeah, we didn't watch anything remotely supernatural, paranormal, magic, witchcrafty. Was not allowed in the house. The point is, nothing was allowed in our house except for Narnia and Tolkien and the Star Wars movies. We legitimately, I mean, we watched the Star Wars movies. Which, if you're trying to avoid everything remotely witchcrafty, the Force, I don't know. Like Narnia, you can make a claim, right? You could be like, it's specifically biblical allegory, especially The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like, you can make a case there and sneak it in. And with Tolkien, I feel like it's a little bit harder, but also you could be like, but he was C.S. Lewis's best friend, right? So, it's fine. I don't really know what the justification for Star Wars was, other than, like, they're great movies, and my dad was obsessed. What? Yeah, anyway, we don't have to talk about my upbringing specifically, but that specific paragraph, I was just like, why are you describing my life? It's been a really interesting book so far. I'm enjoying it. Here's something I underlined. My first Enneagram teacher and mentor, Father Richard, has suggested that Enneagram type is 1/3 nature, Oh, that's what we were talking about. 1/3 nurture and 1/3 the decision we make as children to fill a role needed to survive or thrive in our families and environments. Oh, we're still, yeah, this is back when we were talking about types, and why you have a type and how you get a type and things of that nature. There's a table in here of the childhood wound situation. I don't remember. Some of the tables I pull out my camera and like take 3 seconds shot of it so that you can see them, and some of them I don't, so I don't know if I did this one. But this specific table with the like childhood wound that potentially could explain why you had your type, I sent them to my friends. So like I don't remember if I sent one to my sister who was a type 4, but I sent one to my type 6 friend and my type 8 friend. I sent them their wounds specifically, and they both felt pretty exposed and called out by it. So, that's how the Enneagram's supposed to work. Yeah, also mine was pretty spot on. Which, mine is, these children were overlooked or neglected and felt, which, okay, take this with a grain of salt, because I grew up in a large, loving family, and my parents deeply loved me and did their best to ensure that I was loved. So, but these children were overlooked or neglected and felt unimportant or lost. They were ignored or attacked for having needs, or expressing themselves, especially in anger, and decided to keep a low profile instead and focus on the needs and experiences of others. And that is often how I felt internally, sometimes how I still feel. Yep, I don't I have a specific story in mind, but I don't really want to call attention to it, so we're not going to. But yes, the feeling ignored or overlooked or unimportant, like if I disappeared, none of you would notice. There would be no impact in your lives if I wasn't there. It would just, there wouldn't be a hole, there would be nothing, because y'all don't even know I'm here. Like, that's how I feel often internally, which isn't necessarily true, and I get that. But anyway, that's the Enneagram for you. You get to face all your demons. It's so much fun. Anyway, let's go look for something else I underlined. Okay. Oh, how do I determine my type section? This was interesting. I was reading this part today. Because the shaping of our type is partially confirmed to us through our experience of our original or childhood wound, learning about our type can be painful to our memories and humiliating to our ego. Reading is difficult. So it's worse than a party foul to type someone else. It is an intrusion or an overreach. I definitely see where this is coming from, and I do think to find your actual type, you have to be like super open and honest and vulnerable with yourself, because the Enneagram will rip wide open all of your insecurities and everything that makes you uncomfortable and, you know, feels painful probably if you haven't done any healing work yet on all those childhood traumas. So yeah, it's a very personal thing, so I see where this is coming from. But at the same time, I do think if you have a relationship with someone and they are willing to talk through the types with you in order to find theirs, like I don't think it's a terrible idea to help people type themselves. Anyway, I mean, the real work happens internally. So even if someone suggests what your type is, like you have to do it yourself, or it's all pointless. Let's see. Oh, talking about the tests, I don't suggest people do tests. I suggest you go to the Enneagram Institute website and you read the fears and desires, but specifically the fears of each type, and then take an honest look at yourself and figure out which one is you. Anyway, but speaking on the tests, I underlined this. Another common caution is that a lack of self-awareness could lead you to answer the questions based on who you wish you were, who you want to be, or even how you think other people see you. I would not suggest doing the tests. I just would not. The type you feel most exposed by or most uncomfortable with is usually the one that ends up being yours. Doing your own research requires a level of maturity that assumes self-awareness and truthfulness. Yeah, it's it's not always easy work, the Enneagram. If you take it seriously and you really try to figure out who you are, and how to become a healthier human being than who you are now, it's a lot. Here's another thing I underlined. This is where we encounter the uniqueness of the Enneagram as a character structure construct, as opposed to, you know, other personality tests, I suppose. It offers both a portrait of health and a portrait of unhealth for each type, and prompts us to identify honestly where we are functioning on that spectrum. This might vary from day to day, or even hour to hour, but the gift presented to us is a greater awareness that leads to psychological and spiritual growth. That is why I love the Enneagram. Talking about integration and disintegration, I would like to know the proper pronunciation of the word disintegration, because it sounds like I'm saying disintegration. You know, like in sci-fi when you disintegrate people. Are they pronounced exactly the same, or is it different? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, it was just reading about what it means to, quote-unquote, move toward the positive traits of whatever, which for me would be 3, or the negative traits of whatever, which for me would be 6. Anyway, yeah. There was a lot of conversation on that today in what I was reading. And then we got into, what is it, passions and, what was it called? Fixations. My passion being sloth, which fits very well. And the fixation being indolence, which honestly I mean, it's a word I have seen and read before, but I don't have a firm grasp on what that specifically means, so I'm going to look that up. Okay, but talking about the passions and fixations. But naming and taking responsibility for our passion is devastating to the ego and can be extremely painful. At the same time, taking ownership of our passion also leads to tremendous growth. This, I think, is a large part of why it frustrates me to no end when cute, snappy little Instagram posts about the 9 type. Always, literally always, one of the slides will be something about not calling us lazy. We're not lazy. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Because we are. And listen, if you're too afraid to, like, look at your faults, or the way that you naturally, instinctually act, like, you're never gonna change. Anyway, it's a thing. I rant on Instagram literally every time, because I'll see a 9 post, and I'll like it, and I'll share it, and then there will be that one slide that's like, don't call me lazy, and I will rant. Every time. Because it drives me nuts. Passion is sloth. Own it. And then do something about it. But don't be like, I'm not. That's not me. Anyway. Okay. Passions are the ways each type manages and suffers the heart's disconnect from its true self, the painful emotional experience of enduring the ego's tethering to its tragic flaw. I don't really know why I underlined that, but I did, so there you go. There was some conversation about, because this is specifically a spiritual book, there was conversation about, the passions and fixations and the relation to sin, and then talking about, like, sin versus pathologies. There was a lot of conversation, which was very interesting stuff. I don't really want to sum it all up for you, so I'm not going to, but it's interesting. If you're interested in that sort of thing, read the book. My arm is killing me. Okay, one of the most useful ways to approach the Enneagram, learning to honestly yet compassionately observe both our attempts to return home to our true self and our compulsions that derail us from living into our potential. Okay, this was really funny. The author was walking through his experience with learning about the Enneagram and then, like, slowly diving into it and, like, becoming obsessed with it, because that's what happens. But he said this, like, I laughed out loud. If I'm honest, the symbol itself threw me. It looked super evil, like 2 demonic pentagrams having sex, and I was immediately concerned that it might not be congruent with my Christian faith. I don't know, that imagery just made me laugh out loud. I spit out my drink. It was the whole experience. But the Enneagram is relentless, and once it finds you, it doesn't let go. Truth and light are like that. Ooh, I underlined a lot on this page. No doubt it can be devastating to come to terms with our fatal flaws, our characteristics, sin tendencies, and the primary fear hiding in our subconscious. But awareness of these aspects, or fragments, of our identity is what catalyzes growth. I'm convinced that approaching the Enneagram from a contemplative posture, a spirituality, which is apparently hard to say, marked by solitude, silence, and stillness, is the most effective way to work with this character structure system for whole-person growth and transformation, moving beyond the mere discovery of our type's common traits into a deeper exploration that involves learning to discern with our type, facing the temptations and fears of our type, and ultimately praying through our type leads to real inner freedom, and that's when our true identity can be unleashed. Dun dun dun! That was the end of part 1 of the book, and then we started part 2. Which was, oh yes, oh here we go, this is a whole conversation. Okay, so, sorry, the chapter that I'm currently reading is about the centers. So you've got the circle with the 9 types on it, right? And there's like 3 groupings. The head, the heart, and the body. The head being, you know, thoughts, heart being feelings, body being your gut or instinct. Type 9 is in the gut, instinct, body section, but this is the part of the Enneagram that always gets me. Excuse me while I cough to death. Anyway, when people talk about the 3 centers, but like, so in my writing group, we had a Enneagram coach come and talk to us, which is how I started getting obsessed with this. My friend was already like typed and into the Enneagram and would talk about it sometimes, so I was like in my peripheral, I guess. But then we had a coach come and teach us how to apply the Enneagram to our characters, to write more vivid and real characters, and it blew my mind, and then I became obsessed, and now here we are. But anyway, the point being, when she talked about the centers, and then also I have a hedgy sister in my writing group, who is deep into the Enneagram and likes to talk about it, and we often just like have Enneagram chat because she's the Enneagram lady. Anyway, but when various people talk about the centers, I always relate to, initially, the heart center, which doesn't work because I'm in the body center. And I think the disconnect for me is because I'm a very emotional human, borderline an empath, so I also feel very distinctly the emotions of other people around me. Emotions are just kind of how I exist in the world. And also, to add to the fun, I have synesthesia, which formed this fun connecting bridge between feeling, both physical and emotional, and color. So I can literally see my emotions in specific colors. So, me and emotion are tight. We get along great. Yes. So, I find it difficult and like borderline upsetting that I'm not in the heart center, because when people talk about this is what the body center is, and this is what the heart center is, and this is what the, what's the other one? The head center is, I relate to the heart. I'm not in the heart center. And I know that I am a type 9 because, you know, I've done all this hard work of like looking at my vulnerabilities and my insecurities and like what is my basic fear. I know I'm a type 9. Also the like in growth I go to 3, in stress I go to 6. Fits really well for me. Like the whole thing. Everything that I have learned about type 9, everything except for the body center, everything fits. I like to tell people that I'm the 9est 9 they will ever meet because I'm very 9. Except for the body center thing. But this is the chapter that I'm currently reading, and so it's going to go in deeper than the conversations I've had with various people in the Hedgie house, right? So I expect that this will finally, like, put to ease whatever disconnect there is. Because I don't necessarily disagree that I'm in the body center. A, because that's where 9s are. You can't move. You can't pick. That's just where you are. And B, because I do react to things on instinct. I make decisions that way. I react to people that, like, my gut is important. So I don't disagree that I'm in the body center, but also I relate so heavily to the heart center just because of who I am, with the synesthesia, with feelings, with the, like, empath situation. Emotions are my jam. So, yeah. Anyway, this is just something that bugs me every time that the centers are talked about, so I'm fascinated by the chapter I'm currently reading. Hi. So I have more to discuss with this book. So, starting with my feeling of complete disconnect with my intelligence center, it makes sense because I'm a 9, and we tend to be the most disconnected of the you know, gut body people. So I feel reassured by that. But moving on, I just read a chapter that, like, sums up each type, basically, and I sent the little summation, I guess, to various people that I know that are different types. And then I finally just read the 9. There's a lot of blue happening here, because I was highlighting things, and feeling kind of sad for little 9 Mandi, and also just feeling like it was hitting everything on the head. I'm so 9, it's kind of ridiculous. Yes? I'm back. I briefly had to engage with the 3-year-old, 2-year-old. How old is he? I don't even know. Anyway, I don't know that I needed to read the whole 1.5 page, 2-page explanation to you, but some of the things I underlined, which is most of the 2 pages, well, they talked about how the 9 can relate to everybody, see all the perspectives, yada yada, which I definitely do. Also talked about, this is the part where I was feeling sad for little me. 9s commonly feel as if they lost part of themselves as children, as if others saw past or through them and failed to acknowledge them. This childhood wound caused them to stay under the radar and make sure everyone else was fine. Drawing attention to themselves or their needs just complicated things, so 9s detached from their needs and ensured their surroundings and loved ones were taken care of. Also talked about how 9s seem the least angry of the 3, you know, angry types, which are 1, 9, and 8. But the anger's definitely there, just maybe slightly deeper inside, and when it comes out, it freaks everybody out. Which I thought was really funny. I have a really heavy 1 wing. Like, really heavy. So, the, like, 9s with a 1 wing are firmer with their conscience and principles, give more attention to details, follow their ethical convictions into the peace they mediate. My 1 wing is strong enough that if I wasn't a 9, which I am, but if I wasn't, I'd be a 1. Because it's a lot. I am very strict with my integrity, and rule following, and being good, like, and I definitely enforce, those ideals on the people around me. A random example, anyone in my family or my close friend group could tell you that I am very passionate about driving the speed limit, and it genuinely frustrates me to the point of, like, my respect for you as a person is in fact less if you feel the need to speed. It just is. I can't help it. It's like, I don't know, the only reason you could have for breaking that kind of rule is, like, you're impatient and selfish? Like, what? So, yeah, I get on people's cases about that kind of stuff all the time, because I have a very strong wing 1. I'm very judgmental, you guys. Very, very judgmental. We don't have to talk about it. But it's weird to, like, hold the 2 in tandem. Like, I'm very judgmental because of my wing 1, but also, as a 9, I can see the perspective of everyone. It's like, sometimes half of me is like, you know, You don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they're trying to, like, get to the hospital, or they're late to pick up a kid from school and they don't want their little kid to feel abandoned, or whatever. Like, there could be a valid reason that they're not driving the speed limit. And then the other half of me is like, nope, they suck. Anyway, I don't know why I'm ranting about this now. Yeah. Let's see. Other things that I highlighted. 9s are calm, cool, and collected. 9s are by nature understanding and make excellent arbitrators, mediators, and referees because they have an innate ability to understand almost every perspective. Except from people who speed. Because of this profound capacity to understand others, it's hard for them to take a position or hold an opinion, especially if it's contrary to that of their partner or community. Yeah. The traditional passion of the 9 is sloth, or more accurately, the lethargic, self-forgetting apathy they practice with their own drives, needs, and desires. Indolence, or shiftless idleness, is the 9's fixation, a slow, simmering boil of forgetfulness that causes them to stay stuck in their own unruffled tranquility. This feels very accurate, but also makes me think of all of the posts that are like, don't call me lazy, and I'm just like, I don't know, at our worst, that's what we are, guys. Just embrace it. You're not gonna heal and move forward if you're like, no, I'm not that. I am that. It's fine, it's what it is. We work not to indulge it too often. Reading the different prayer postures that sort of aligned with each type was fascinating. I was actually sending everything that I was reading and learning to a couple of friends of mine who are also interested in the Enneagram, and we were just discussing it, basically, like what felt accurate to our types and various things, so that was super interesting. I also got lost a little bit at some point. There is a spider on my ceiling. We're not gonna think about that. Anyway, I got lost at some point in the internet. I can't not think about it. Yeah. Anyway, I got lost at some point, doing some research, reading reviews of the book that I'm reading, specifically from a Christian standpoint, and people, like, comparing what scripture says to what this book specifically is promoting as spiritual growth or whatever. So it was very fascinating stuff. There is some stuff in the book that doesn't align with what I believe based on what I find in scripture, but a lot of the book I was really enjoying, and I really love all the psychology stuff behind it and stuff like that, so I don't know. There was some stuff there, and there's also not some stuff there. I think it's a good reminder to read everything critically, and then also from a Christian standpoint to, like, compare everything that you are finding with the scripture, through the lens of scripture, and yeah, I don't know, it was good stuff. It was the whole journey of reading it and then getting a little lost and, like, derailed on other research. I don't know, the whole thing was great. We did go into February with this book, just a twinge. It's fine, we don't have to talk about it. That someone should talk about, though, because that's real creepy. That being the spider. Anyway, I had a plan for what I was going to discuss in this last portion of the video, but I got real derailed by that 8-legged horrifying monster on my ceiling. So, I don't know what to tell you. It was a good book. Don't just accept things and think critically. That's what I got. I don't know.